So, welcome to this section. I'm laying some track here, so I thought I'd take a video of what I'm doing. And what you can see here is there's a circle of track that's coming around here. And I've just finished joining it into this piece that I've built. And what I need to do is extend it from here to here. Now, if I was using flex track, I just kind of bend it. But because I'm making my own track, it's much more precise, and after it's made I can't bend it, so I have to figure out what it's going to be in advance. Now what I have in order to help me do that is these are 4 sections of track. This is 11.5, 12.5, 15 inch, and this is an 18 and I think 3/4. Yeah, 18 and 3/4, which is what I've made this curve start out as, is 18 and 3/4. Now what I'm going to end up doing is I need to put a little bit more curvature on this to bring it out. So I'm going to build a piece of track that's got, I don't know, 3 or 4, which will get it to about there. Then I'm going to do a straight piece of about 8 inches, which will get it to there. Then I'm going to use the same radius curve from here to get onto the straight that's here, and then do a straight. So I'll have a straight 18-inch curve, 8-inch straight, 18-inch curve. I've already got an 8-inch straight in here, and then I've got a bit of a curve on here that's the same diameter, same radius as this guy. And so tonight's about finishing up the piece I got to do on here and getting it fit into there. Once I do that, then I need to get some and cut out some more foam board so I can put the foam board all along. And once I got the foam board all along, then I can glue down the pylons and the foam board, and we should be good. Now when I look at this, I'm just trying to figure out here, I can put a piece in there, I can put this pylon in there. What I'm trying to figure out is whether that's okay, and I think we're okay with that amount of distance, because my only other option would be to build a special pylon here, but I think we're okay with that. So anyway, that's what we're going to go with. So next up, I've got, there's 2 ties, 8 inches, 6 ties, and I'll be left with a 7-inch straight. End up with needing 22.25, 22.5 inches in total. A piece of rail, however, is either 36 or 18 inches. So I'm going to use some 18-inch, and then I've got some leftover rail that's long enough, and I'll solder it to the end. So we start with these. Here's one PCB board tie. You can see I got to make a bunch more. That's that's for making straight track. And for building the curve, it's the outside radius on this guy. So if you look at that, it says 18 and 3/4 inches and goes around. So now I start building that. Ties come packaged like this, the PCB board. So however many you've ordered, they get them all together. So what you need to do is grab one of these frets of ties, separate it out from all its buddies, pull that out, put that back in my storage area. I have a pair of shorter nippers here, so what you have to do then is you cut this guy off here, you cut this guy off here, and now they separate. So what I do is I'll cut this off like this, cut 2 at a time, then I need to cut the other little piece off so it's flush. Now I'll go through and I'll do that for all of these ties to make sure that I got enough to do the work that I need to do. Next up, we'll be cleaning those ties up a bit. Okay, so next up, all of these ties I need to clean up. remove any burrs or anything. So I take it and go ahead here, just drag a file over that once, over each front, back, and each side once. Put it in my little container here where I've got them, and took a while to figure out how to position things here so that I could do it, because these ties aren't really all that big. You can see there, you know, with the file beside it. It's out of focus, so we'll draw back, but you can see they're just, you know, they're not that big. And getting a file on it, but still holding it somehow with your fingers, I found if I do a lot of these, yeah, the file wears down on the skin of my fingers, and I don't do enough to get a callus, but I do enough that I'll wear through and it'll crack and other stuff. Anyway, I got to do the rest of those now. Oh, and I do this on my desk like this over a bit of paper. I used to do it over a garbage can, figuring all the filings would go there. But every once in a while you catch one of these, and if it falls in the garbage can, it's hard to find, whereas if it falls here, it's no problem. Alright, so now I got these guys done. They're clean. If you look at the file, I don't know whether you can pick it up, but there's brass all along there. You need to keep that file clean, so I use either this brush, which is a brass one, or this one, which is a steel one, especially if there's something. Oh, this is a brass one, but I do have steel ones. And then all I do is I just brush it, except I do it over a garbage can. So keep your files clean, they'll last a lot longer, and that's what it looks like after cleaning. So now I got the ties done, but what about the rail? You know, we all know that over time rail oxidizes as well. So I have the rail here. So what I do, shake out my little rag there, is I have a piece of 1x2 with a slot down here, and all I do is take the rail and put it in the slot, and the top of the rail sticks up, and I take a small bastard that I have, and I just scrape the bottom and pull that through, scrape some more. So the idea is to get rid of some of the oxidation, and also maybe just scratch it up a little to give the solder a little bit more of a spot in order to grab hold. Now, after I do this, I'm also going to clean it with alcohol, so that'll come up later. Now, the other thing I've already done that I didn't show you is I file the ends to make sure that they're perfectly flat. I get rid of any burrs, and so if I do this, no paper or anything would catch on that. So they're going to meet flush. So now I take my 90% alcohol and a piece of scrap cloth. I mean, you end up with paper towel all over the place. This happens to be shop towel. And I just take a bit, get some alcohol on there, and then make sure that I'm cleaning the bottom and clean the bottom. And you can see the black marks that come off with that. So now that's good and clean, squeaky clean if you listen. Oh, not that time. But being good and clean like this is the solder is going to adhere, and I'm not going to have any problems. Incidentally, all I did is I ran a hacksaw along there. Hacksaw kerf was perfect for it. So try a hacksaw or any other kind of saw you may have to get that. You see I got them there. I've also got some a little bit wider on this side. I use that for some other purposes. Anyway, have those. So now what I need to do is I need to have 2 ties worth of bend in the end of these rails. And it's going that way, so I got to make sure I do the bend properly so it'll come in from this end. I want to know how far 2 ties are on the outside, so we'll put this guy in here where it would normally go, like that. I count over 1, 2 ties. Halfway to the next one, I'll make a mark. So I know I just want to bend that little piece. Now it's not a lot, but if you bend your track, then you're much less likely to have any future failures. I use this little square often to make sure the track is the same length, and it isn't in this case, so we'll snug it up. Okay, I want it close, never going to be exact. 2 ties gets me right to the midpoint, right to there. Okay, so I now have that, and I have this, which is a bender. And all you do is you take this and put it in like that, and it's just to where I made the mark. And I'll put it through a couple of times. And then I'll verify that it looks good for this radius. Make sure it's looking good for this radius. And it is. 2 rails there. That's good. Double check. 2, yep. Okay. And now I'm going to try and make a little tiny O on the top of this, because this is the outside. I'll do a left bracket and a right bracket that's kind of like a little O. Probably can't see that, but... Okay. Now I only need 2 ties, so we'll take 1 tie here, 1 tie here, and then I need some flux on these, which, in order to get that, my camera is resting on the flux right now, so we'll grab that like that. And move that camera a bit. I have one of these to apply flux. It's an old brush. Little guy, get a little bit of, I'm using, I always use acid-based flux because I know it works well. Put just a little bit on. Don't need much, but you need enough just to cover that. That may even be more than I need. So if you take a look, it looks like that, and there's some flux in there. So next up, the rail goes in like this, and the other rail goes in like this. So we'll put the camera back here, and I'll just tap this, make sure this is in how I want it. And sometimes the rail likes to turn a little on its side, so press all that in. Again, square it up. Okay, now this one's a little more difficult to do because you got the rest of the rail out there and you kind of want to hold it down. My soldering iron's ready to go. What I'd normally do here is get a bit of weight on this end to hold it down. So I'm just going to grab my straight template, throw it there like that. That'll hold that end down, and then I can solder in there. To solder, grab your soldering iron. I got a brass cleany thing here, so use that on the tip. You can see the tip is nice and silver, which is what you want. I grab one of these, which is just a bamboo skewer, and then make sure everything's still where I want it. Get the solder, apply the heat, apply a little bit of solder under there, take the bamboo skewer, make sure that's well in place exactly where I want it. Hold it while the solder sets. Clean the tip. Back to the other side. Now I'm holding this on the outside of the rail. Then I again press it down. One stab to clean the tip. Hold it there. I'll leave that just on the very end. I may take it off, but and then the same kind of thing here. You do just enough solder so that it flows under the rail on the PCB tie. Hold it in there. Heat the other side. Just enough to flow under. A little bit flows up on the side. And there's my two. So now I can take this off, take these guys out, and you may not be able to see that much of a curve, but there's definite curve in those guys. And now I'm going to fit them into the main line and do my 8 inches of straight. Just follow the same procedure.